Hello, Apes crew. It's Kara Lenorvitz, and welcome back to week 10 of our second segment. Honing in, getting a little bit closer to our finish line here, but some good work ahead of us to do as well. So let's jump in. Most of the housekeeping stuff here is going to be the same that we've looked at. So you know that use the weekly learning plan as a go-to guide. That we're going to be together this Thursday for our regular synchronous session. So it'll be great to have us together again. And please do reach out during office hours, either on Tuesday between 8:30 and 10:30 or Wednesday between 1 and 3 if you have questions or need support or want to check in on anything. I also want to share two upcoming pieces with you. Of course, you know that your AP exam is coming up on the horizon. We'll touch base about that in just a moment. But I also want to let you know that VTVLC has asked all of us as teachers to update the gradebook so that it more accurately reflects your current status in class. So starting this week, for those of you who have missing assignments or ones that are more than 2 weeks past due, you're going to start to see those getting replaced with zeros. I want to be really, really clear that a zero doesn't mean it's done forever and you can't do anything about it. In fact, the zero is just a reminder for you that what your grade would look like if you didn't complete that assignment and that you want to go back and give that attention. So absolutely that zero is fixable and improvable, but it's just that you have a more accurate perspective on where you are with class. So just know that'll start to happen and that may cause your grade to fluctuate just a little bit as we continue to move forward and continue to make progress. The second thing that I wanted to bring up with you, we've talked about in class, but is coming closer, and that is April break. Again, because each of our school calendars don't quite align perfectly with each other. Some of us will have April break the week prior to me, and some of you during the same week that I do. My April break will be from April 17th to April 25th, so I will not be available during that time. But just like we did with February break, I will be assigning a weekly learning plan that has a 2-week window on it. So you can, if your April break happens before mine, take your vacation first and then use that second week to do your work. Or if you align with mine, you can do your work first and then take your vacation the second week. Or because you have great flexibility here, you can stretch that out over that 2-week period of time if you would like. I will certainly give you more details about that as we get closer to it, but just wanted to put it on your calendars so that you can think a little bit about what's coming down the road. You already know about the important College Board exam information, and thank you for giving me the update on what your thoughts are in terms of how you're going to be approaching that. I want to just give a little context that we are in some ways working as individuals, but in some ways we're also working as a team. So we're going to continue to use our class time together to help everybody train for their experience with the College Board exam, even if it might be a little bit different than yours. So at this point, if you are taking the exam, you've connected already with your College Board counselor at your school, and you have identified which of those dates you're going to be taking it. I'll share a little bit more information with you this week during our synchronous session about what dates we're aiming for and how we're going to adjust our pace to make sure everybody feels like they're confident and ready when they get there. All right. The next thing here, again, just we're going to continue to use two other resources, AP Classroom, which I have drawn from a little bit less this week, but it is there as an optional resource for you all the time. So there's loads of great information and lectures that are in there. If you'd like to pull in any supplemental resources this week, you certainly can. And then our Apes textbook. This week, you're going to be working in parallel with the content that's in Chapter 17. Again, this online textbook, I think, provides a really great, thorough perspective on the content that we're working on, and I encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. And then, of course, we've already talked about the College Board exam. So let's go ahead and take a peek at what you're going to be focusing on this week. You're going to start out thinking more about risk. We covered a little bit of this content as a discussion in our last synchronous class, so you're going to do some of the background reading and note-taking just to round out your knowledge. You now know that risk is a combination of the probability of your exposure to a hazard and your probability of being harmed by that hazard. When we talk about probability, you can think about it's about chance, and anything that we can do that reduces the probability of either exposure or of being harmed means that we have a much better opportunity to avoid that risk or to be less harmed by that risk. So you're going to come back and think a little bit about the precautionary principle, compared to the innocent until proven guilty principle, and just again consider how society may use one or both of those strategies effectively or ineffectively depending on the situation. In the next part of what you're going to be working on in 9.02, you're going to be focusing on human health. And I know you might feel this is an environmental science class. Why are we focusing on human health? Remember that as humans, we are an integral part of the ecosystem. So our health absolutely is part of the environment, and certainly our population size is as well. So those things tie together very neatly. The things that pose the biggest risk to human health really depend on who you are and where you live. So I want you to keep that in mind as you start to explore some different risks to human health and diseases that might cause the biggest threats depending on where you live in the world. So this map does a great job of visually showing you that it really does matter if you live on the continent of Africa, or if you live in North America, or if you live somewhere in Europe, what might be your biggest threats. You're going to choose one particular disease and do some background research and put together a presentation on it, and hopefully think a little bit about how that disease compares to others around the world. You're also going to continue a collaborative solid waste lab, so you should be in week 5 of your data collection. Remember to keep updating your data in the data table for each other. And then, of course, we're going to attend class. Remember, when we do attend class, it's not just us that we're thinking about, but we're thinking about classes all over the world and people that live all over the world. So keep that perspective in mind. Let's take a look at the weekly learning plan. All right, as usual, a short introduction at the beginning, an outline of the learning objectives you're aiming for this week, and then your to-do list. So you have 4 jobs this week. The first one is to think about risk. All right, so the first job on risk, you're going to review what we learned about last class when we were together. For this, the only thing you need to do is read the background information carefully and take some good notes for yourself. You can also refer back to our presentation from last week, so that's linked right at the top here. Your second job is around human health, and here you're going to be learning about all sorts of different causes of death, both in the United States and globally. And then you're specifically going to focus in on diseases. So you'll think about the difference between transmissible and non-transmissible diseases, and then pick a particular disease that you're going to do some more background research on to put together a presentation to think about teaching the rest of us about that particular disease. I'm going to ask if all of you could come having selected the disease you think you want to focus on for that project. Just bring that topic with you to class on Thursday so we can talk a little bit about what you've learned about it so far. I also really strongly encourage you to check out this optional resource, which is a Radiolab podcast. It's an excellent podcast in itself. This particular one is spot on for our topic. It's called Patient Zero. It was first put out in 2011. They've done some updating as well. But it's all about the story of Typhoid Mary and the spillover event that resulted in HIV. It's a really compelling story and really important. The link is here, and I encourage you to check it out. It is definitely going to draw you in, and I think will help to round out your learning and thinking about human health and disease a little bit further. And then the third job is your collaborative solid waste lab, continuing to collect data there. And then the fourth job, come to class. And again, you're going to bring your solid waste lab updated data. You can do that right in the document that's shared with all of you. And your choice of disease. So to sum up, you're going to complete 9.01 to 9.02. For 9.01, it's notes only. 9.02, in addition to your research project, consider listening to Patient Zero. You're going to continue to collect your solid waste lab data, and you're going to bring to class, our fourth job, you're going to bring to class with you your updated solid waste lab data and your disease topic for 9.02. As always, reach out for help if you need it or if you have questions, and I will see you on Thursday.